Good afternoon, everybody. On this Monday, September 22nd, 2025, I've got all your stories for your rush hour ride home coming to you from outside the country. You might be able to tell from the sun in my eyes. I'm in a tropical location. I'll give you clues to where that might be at the end of this episode, so stick around and I'll share with you my mobile studio setup. It's actually quite amazing. But in this episode, we're going to talk about Candace Owens defending Jimmy Kimmel. That's right. You might be surprised if you think everything's built on a cultural divide, left versus right. We need to think more three-dimensionally. There are plenty of people out there in the content world that understand how the First Amendment is at stake right now. Those on the left, those on the right, those somewhere in between. So I'm going to share what Candace Owens had to say about Jimmy Kimmel. I'm also going to share some clips from the memorial service for Charlie Kirk. As you guys know, in the last week and a half that I've covered this, I've left my opinion about Charlie Kirk out of this. Why? Because it doesn't matter my opinion of somebody who is exercising their First Amendment rights. What matters to me is those grifting in power that are going to use Charlie Kirk in order to fulfill their agenda. So much so that we have Donald Trump, president of this here United States, responding to a reporter who said, Charlie Kirk wouldn't have stood for this. And Trump's response, we don't know. Maybe he would have changed his mind. So we're seeing a lot of that grifting taking place, and we need to note it, call it out, share the receipts, and just remind all of us who's worthy to really receive your attention when it comes to news coverage. A lot of people sharing their true colors. Afterwards, I'm going to share the border czar who was caught accepting a $50,000 cash bribe, and the charges were dismissed. Remember, folks, this isn't left versus right. It's up versus down. You're not in the cool kids club getting that $50,000 purse, are you? Maybe you are. In which case, sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/Dave Neal. All right, so we covered this morning, Disney loses $3.5 billion in market value since taking Jimmy Kimmel off air. I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the standard stock market moving up and down, but some of it will be people that say, you did him wrong. He didn't deserve the axing and whatnot. You'll also see a lot of people say, I wish the left was this angry at the killer of Charlie Kirk as they are at Jimmy Kimmel getting fired. And it's a false equivalency. And we need to be able to parse these things out, call out a false equivalency when we see one. See, I think most people are really upset at the political violence. I know I certainly am. Why? Because you immediately see everyone or a lot of people start pointing fingers. See, your side caused this, when in fact there's still no evidence whatsoever that this is a left versus right issue, right? No evidence found yet of ties between Charlie Kirk's shooting and left-wing groups, officials say. Meanwhile, there's no better opportunity than now for the executive branch to try to pin this on groups like Antifa, which stands for anti-fascist, which Antifa isn't even a group. It's a loose connection of people with, similar ideals, none of which have been pinned on this shooter. We need to be careful and share, the facts that exist right now. So I'm going to share what Candace Owens had to say. And I love my audience. So much so, you guys have given me the world. You've been so supportive. It doesn't mean we're going to agree on everything. This is from a very kind commenter. Dave, I really enjoy your show and the open dialogue. Jimmy is on hiatus, not fired. He's let go indefinitely. Okay, let's just, we're semantics. Ratings had slipped, the talking point. The show leaned too political and not funny, subjective, for many viewers. Network TV has FCC rules and advertisers to answer to, very different from cable or YouTube, where you can say whatever you want. Roseanne Barr was fired for a tweet with the most popular show on the network. I think it's fair to remember the Biden administration's role during COVID in working with platforms that limited scientists and conservative voices, something Zuckerberg even admitted in Congress. Free speech is essential, but there needs to be some accountability on what happened because the hypocrisy is beyond comprehension. Thank you. And again, I responded to this person in kind. I do appreciate these comments, but I have to push back. What happened during COVID, you can't compare. It's not apples to apples. What happened during the pandemic was definitely a time when there was some authoritarian tendencies. You saw governors, writing people tickets and arresting them for being on the beach. Absolutely. It was a wild time when folks didn't understand the scope of what they were dealing with. I disagreed with a lot of those policies at the time, but this is so different. It is so different. You understand, this isn't about Jimmy Kimmel losing viewers. If he did, the show would have just gotten rid of him. This isn't about he leans too far in one direction. That's like saying Applebee's shut down because you didn't want to eat their blooming onion. It has nothing to do with what's going on here. The free market was not at play. We have to understand, and this is where it's not an agree to disagree type of thing for me. We have to understand what happened to Jimmy Kimmel is directly because of the FCC and Donald Trump using the power that they had, a licensing, they could get in the way. They even said it. We could do this the easy way or the hard way. You have to understand that that's what this was about. And the ABC did it the easy way. They bent the knee to Trump like so many other organizations have done when it comes to paying off the settlement versus standing up for clear First Amendment issues. We have to agree with what that is. And again, the way I look at this, people get online and they start to share certain comments about what this was all about. And you see, well, it was low rated. The ratings dipped in the last 10 years. The ratings for every network channel have dipped. That's just the way the world has worked with the internet and all these other streaming services and whatnot. Jimmy Kimmel was absolutely not at risk of getting fired a week ago. That wasn't going to happen. It wasn't in the conversation. The ABC is trying to figure out a way to get him back. This wasn't, this was an astroturfed movement. There was no grassroots effort to get him fired, period. Here's what Candace Owens has to say about why this is so dangerous. And by the way, I will say this, for those saying, why are people so mad about this issue and not about Charlie Kirk's shooter? Well, Charlie Kirk's shooter was found, 48 hours later. There was no one else at risk. It was very similar to Luigi Mangione in the sense that there wasn't like a mass shooter. There was a cold-blooded assassin on the loose. They've caught that person. There's no evidence that anyone else is involved. There's no evidence that you skip right to the mourning stage of how tragic that was. So that's how it's different. That we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can feel bad for Charlie Kirk's family, and we can also understand that the powers that be are going to use and abuse this situation to grab more power.
Whether or not you think it was a insensitive joke, okay, I don't think that would have been the justification for saying that he now needs to donate to charity and lose his whole life. And this is what happened. He's taken off air, and some people are saying, hey, Candace, they did this to us. And you're not wrong, right? If you are on the right and you are saying that when the whole George Floyd thing happened, people lost their jobs for saying sensible things or making a joke, you are correct. Like, you are right to say, yes, that absolutely did happen. But if you're not recognizing that when you just flip the coin, it's the same people that are gaining more power, I just want the attacks on free speech to stop, okay? I want the reaction, if you're angry about what Jimmy Kimmel said, is for the free markets to take him out, right? He doesn't have a show because nobody's watching him anymore because they're so disgusted by what he said. That's what I want. I want us to be in control, right, of where we spend our dollars, of what we're saying, and not like the government to press a button and say, you lose everything because we don't like what you said.
And by the way, just to compare this to George Floyd, completely different scenario. Police brutality. People watched in horror as Derek Chauvin put his knee on George Floyd's neck for a very long time before letting go. People argue, well, he died of drugs, as if like you didn't see the lack of humanity play out right in front of us. Derek Chauvin wasn't arrested for 4 or 5 days after the death. So people were rioting in the streets because they weren't receiving justice. It is, in my opinion, so racist when people say, oh, when Charlie Kirk dies, there's no rioting, but when George Floyd dies, they all riot. What and people are saying this, these talking points, basically implying that when there's a death in the black community, they can't help but control themselves. I mean, it's so wrong. It completely doesn't speak to the systemic racism that has existed. And meanwhile, since Charlie Kirk's death, there's been several hangings, black men found hanging on trees, dead, and no justice, ruled suicides, bizarre. I mean, so it's the issue and the result of the community uprising is because of a lack of justice. So, I mean, the only way that you'd see rioting in the streets over Charlie Kirk is if the shooter wasn't charged with the crime. The system is playing out as it's supposed to. He's in jail and he's about to be, charged with crimes that could lead to death by firing squad.
And it should be noted, by the way, that in the same monologue, he did call the murder senseless. The day that it happened, Jimmy Kimmel posted a message on Instagram sending love to the Kirk family, to the victims of gun violence. He posted, instead of the angry finger pointing, can we just for one day agree that it's horrible and monstrous to shoot another person?
So my guess is those that are okay with Jimmy Kimmel being fired don't even know that all of this other stuff happened. You have to understand it's like we need to be really careful how we consume our news out there. I'm not wagging my finger at anybody. I'm just saying, there was this article, this video came out of Bernie Sanders going into deep red West Virginia, which for decades was a blue state. They have coal mining and there was a lot of like union love for blue, whatever. And then it went red. And a lot of people hearing Bernie Sanders' message all said, oh my gosh, I can't believe how reasonable this guy is. I probably would have voted for him if I knew. So we have to understand the divisions that are playing out right there. This whole episode is going to really show a lot of those divisions because there are some big ones out there. And I kind of feel like the guy playing the violin as the Titanic goes down because I think we're having a hard time putting this rift back together. And we need to blame our leadership over that. They have the chance to de-escalate, to cool down this rhetoric, and they're not doing it. Not even close. Wait till I share with you guys what Stephen Miller had to say.
On behalf of my family, we send love to the Kirks and to all the children, parents, and innocents who fall victim to senseless gun violence. You wouldn't have thought that he had posted that in terms of everyone that were just like strip him of everything. And I want to be clear, I don't like Jimmy Kimmel.
And of course, it doesn't matter if you like him or not. Candace Owens is on the right side of the story, which is she is defending the First Amendment, really. And the fact that the First Amendment exists for us, the freedom of speech exists, of course, but the government is not allowed to put pressure on organizations for their speech. That's where the First Amendment really is violated. All right, I'm going to take a quick break for some sponsor reads. You have to stick around and hear what Stephen Miller had to say. It is absolutely wild how they are using Charlie Kirk's death to continue to sow division, to grab power. We'll have those stories coming next. Today's episode of the Rush Hour Podcast is sponsored by Tropical Smoothie Cafe, one of my favorites. Ooh, are they delicious. Start your day with a protein-packed breakfast from Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Oh, you thought they only had delicious smoothie options? You're mistaken. Pair that smoothie with a toasted breakfast wrap, order ahead online, and earn rewards with the Tropical Smoothie Cafe app. Like to customize things? Add more good vibes to your smoothie. Fresh add-ins like almonds, spinach and kale, chia seeds, or supplements like protein and Energizer. My favorite smoothie is the Peanut Paradise, chock full of 22 grams of protein. My wife loves the mixed berry Greek yogurt bowl topped with fresh strawberries and blueberries, which comes with a whopping 26 grams of protein. Make every day a getaway with our bold flavors and better-for-you pairings only at Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Tropical Smoothie Cafe, you're on Tropic Time now. Now back to the show. Today's episode of the Rush Hour Podcast is brought to you by Lisa. That's right, your boy's in the mattress game. I've made it, okay? And thanks to Lisa, we can offer 25% off to my listeners with the code RUSHHOUR. I've chosen actually the Reserve Hybrid mattress. It is unparalleled comfort with luxurious high-density memory foam designed to completely cradle your body for the most restful sleep. Don't you just want your body cradled? We all crave that, right? And of course, you get a better sleep, you wake up bushy-tailed, ready to seize the day. And you can go to lisa.com for 25% off, plus get an extra $50 off with promo code RUSHHOUR, exclusive for my listeners. And by the way, 100-day return policy. They ship the box to you. You choose on their website. 20,000 five-star reviews. Need I say more? LEESA.com, promo code RUSHHOUR for 25% off, plus an extra $50 off. Be sure to enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. Lisa.com, promo code RUSHHOUR. All right, let's finish up with what Candace had to say, and then we're going to jump over to some of these other massive, massive stories of corruption.
Right? I think he is a part of the radical left, the people that are constantly shouting. I don't like him at all, but I'm just recognizing that our solution to being angry at each other always seems to be, let's give the government more power, right? Let's give the government more power. And that's what happened here, okay? The chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, Brendan Carr, jumped up and he criticized Jimmy Kimmel's remarks. He threatened federal action against ABC affiliates.
And of course, and then they said, who's next? Maybe The View. And then the next day, The View, an ABC show, did not mention one time what's going on. The amount of burden that's being put on independent content creators right now, I mean this, the stress on my back as we hold up the Constitution, it's a lot, okay? So let's move it on to some other stories involving, what they're trying to do, what they are doing with Charlie Kirk's death. NPR asked about Antifa, and Trump, he's calling out NPR, the most boring, very centrist news organization out there. And you might say, oh, they're not centrist, they're super left-leaning. Maybe the right has drifted a little far, but NPR is about as center as you're going to get. So here's what Trump had to say. And he does this all the time, right? He says, who are you with? Who's asking the question? And then you respond with your organization. And if it's not in the very narrow scope of what he deems appropriate, he says, you're all out to get me.
You posted. Regarding Antifa, what you posted. Who are you with? NPR, sir. Regarding does it?
So you can't hear that well. He says, you're still here, won't be for long. Does Antifa have anything to do with your network? So you see it play out from a mile away. Charlie Kirk's death, he's going to say you got to get rid of these left-leaning groups. He's going to label Antifa as a left-leaning group, which again it is, but it's not really a group. And then any organization that might fit into Antifa, it's like if I say a word that you're going to start deeming words and thoughts as anti-American, as terrorist, and then anyone who says those words or has those thoughts, you're going to put them in that group. Steve Bannon's loving it. He's loving the power that they have right now.
Down President Trump and the MAGA movement every day. Well, hey, guess what? We're in charge now. And this is my whole point about a maximalist strategy, seize the institutions, and have a sense of urgency.
Seize the institutions. I thought the Republican Party wanted the government to stay out of the institutions. I thought they wanted small government, less regulations. So Trump says he's a very strong person for free speech. Okay, let's have a listen.
I'm a very strong person for free speech. At the same time, 97 and 94%, 97, 94, 95, 96% of the people are against me in the sense of the newscasts are against me. The stories are 97% bad. They'll take a great story and they'll make it bad.
I agree that there are some news stories where no matter what Trump does, you say it's a bad thing. But most of what's happening is operating outside of the scope of the legal system. Most of what he's doing is sending people to prisons in other countries. The Supreme Court saying, turn the plane around. Well, it already left. It's like, what are they doing? These are not things that exist in the scope of what should be doing. They're not using Congress at all. The tariffs were illegal. They're now going to the Supreme Court to rule on that. So again, this idea that they're out to get him, well, maybe for a purpose. Now, here's what's interesting. We've got The Five, which is, again, very conservative show on Fox News. They are alarmed at what Trump is saying about everyone out to get him.
Slightly different. Good to be with you and glad to be back around the table. I think a couple things. If you make your living in this world through words, written word, the said word, the spoken word, today or last night might cause you to think differently about where we are. I watched the president today. I give the president the benefit of the doubt on a lot of things.
Why?
He was on Air Force One coming back from a very successful trip in London. He says they're 97% against. They give me only bad press. He was talking about the broadcast news. People get public licenses. They're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away. It will be up to Brendan Carr.
Now, I thought we would have been having this conversation 6 months ago, but the fact that they're even mentioning this on Fox News is wild. It's optimistic that they're mentioning how dangerous this is.
Now, if you didn't tell me who said that, I would never think that quote was an American president, Democrat, Republican, whatever. I would think that sounds like something Putin would say. He took one of our own. Thank God we got him out, Evan. I would think it was something Orban would say in Hungary. I would think it'd be something that the North Korea guy would say. Number two, Is SNL next? The president, in his quote last night, said that NBC ought to be on notice as well. And Saturday Night Live has done some of the great skits. I love that first part of it where they take on the political news of the day.
So again, and these are honest questions they're asking on Fox News. On Fox News, folks. Adam Schiff shared this tweet. Borders are Tom Homan was caught by the FBI accepting bribes on camera to deliver government contracts in exchange for $50,000 cash. Pam Bondi knew, Kash Patel knew, Emil Bove knew, and they made the investigation go away. This is absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. That's right. Not only was he investigated for accepting 50 grand, they have it on camera. This was dismissed. Again, just so you guys know, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. You're taking money to do the job. Like, you're supposed to be working for the people, right? And Megyn Kelly's response says, we don't trust you. We don't trust the work of your president's Department of Justice. This referring to Biden. We don't trust the work of your president's FBI. So you see how even Megyn Kelly here, this is where she loses me. Your, not our president. Your president did this. And it goes on and on and on when people press, and by the way, Tim Miller was a Republican until the Republican Party left him. He says, you don't care that government officials are taking cash bribes? And Megyn Kelly says, no, we don't. I don't care. I don't care. One of yours killed Charlie, and then you laughed at our pain, protested our vigils, and said Charlie was to blame and in hell. You lied about the killer's motives and said he was MAGA when you knew he wasn't. You put us all in danger by not admitting the truth and then not relenting on the lies you tell about us. You cried endless tears for Jimmy Kimmel, but none for Charlie. This is Megyn Kelly. This isn't some random unhinged commenter online. This is a random unhinged commentator in front of the camera. So this is wild that this is going on. And it shows the game that's being played. Robert Reich said big oil donates to his campaign. Trump hands out tax breaks and guts clean energy. Fraudsters donate to his super PAC. Trump hands out pardons. Airlines donate to his inaugural fund. Trump cancels a rule requiring them to refund passengers. Everything is for sale. Everything involves being greased in order to get a carve out over the tariffs and whatnot. So, I mean, it's just absolutely wild. I wanted to share some other clips of just how people are turning a blind eye because they are allowing the division to play out. So here's Trump using Charlie's words and saying, man, maybe he would have thought differently.
Charlie said, that there was no such thing as hate speech. He obviously, no one anticipated what happened to Charlie, but you have always been.
He might not be saying that now. How insulting to assume you're going to know what a slain man would say regarding an issue. Now, I don't have any commentary about the memorial. I'm sure a lot of my family watched it, and I'm sure it played up into the sort of like emotions that people have. A powerful moment when Charlie Kirk's wife, the widow, said she forgives the killer. But the question from Truth Seeker is, why are there fireworks at the memorial service? This is a WWE script. And again, listen, the Republican Party is pretty good with their visuals, but they have fireworks, and it was a sold out stadium, it was an insane crowd. Again, I have no opinion over those that want to eulogize Charlie, but we are going to show you those that are just absolutely taking advantage of his death. So Colonel Kurtz here is on the right side of history. She's our friend from Texas. She said, conservatives beware. People may be sick of the left, but you start pushing evangelical Christianity and right-wing pageantry down their throats, and baby, that pendulum gonna swing back fast. And again, the fact that they're blaming this on the left is it's insane how they've just adopted this idea that the radical left, the far left, the left in general caused this. Not that a maniac madman who, came from a, conservative Christian family, radicalized, and yet people say, oh, he was left. Why? Because his partner was transitioning. Like, I literally don't understand how that makes someone left. It could be that there's a lot of trans people that feel safer living in a left-leaning community, but I don't understand how that's even political. Stephen Miller's speech at Charlie Kirk's memorial was essentially plagiarized. See if you can spot the similarities. The Storm is Coming by Joseph Goebbels, 1932. So I'm going to share this with you. I listened to this briefly. I had to turn it off. It's scary stuff. Now, Stephen Miller, he's been on this sort of like kick. You don't need me to contextualize and explain the type of stuff, how dangerous it is what he's sharing. But what you do need to understand is he's the guy that came up and immediately lied to the press when he said that all of these men sent out of the country that were like wrongfully deported. He just flat out lied about all of them. And he says, well, if you're okay with us sending people outside of the country, deporting them, then I guess you're okay with all of the murders and rapes that are happening here. I mean, he really knows what he's doing when he divides us. And this is a very, very scary moment.
The storm whispers to the warrior that you cannot withstand my strength. And the warrior whispers back, I am the storm.
What?
Erica is the storm. We are the storm. And our enemies cannot comprehend our strength, our determination, our resolve, our passion.
And by the way, I do not know one person who has publicly cheered Charlie Kirk's death. They are taking anecdotal evidence from people online, some of which might be bots meant to divide us, Russian bots, out of the bots, who knows? And they're using that as part of the issue against, so when it comes time to seek retribution, the only person they should seek retribution against is the man who killed Charlie Kirk, period.
Our lineage and our legacy
oh boy,
hails back to Athens, to Rome, to Philadelphia, to Monticello. Our ancestors built the cities. They produced the art and architecture. They built the industry. Where do the railroads come from? Where does hip hop come from?
Our country's a melting pot. What the fuck is he talking about? Yeah, were there Irish that came and built bridges in New York? Sure. But my point is that we are so diversified. You can look at any piece of the culture here in the United States of America and attribute it to a immigrant class. We all came, for the most part, from different places. What the fuck is he talking about?
Erica stands on the shoulders of thousands of years of warriors, of women who raised up families, raised up city, raised up industry, raised up civilization, who pulled us out of the caves and the darkness into the light. The light will defeat the dark. We will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened. They cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all of us. Because we stand for what is good, what is virtuous, what is noble. And to those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred. You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. You can create nothing. We are the ones who build. We are the ones who create. We are the ones who lift up humanity. You thought you could kill Charlie Kirk? You have made him immortal. You have immortalized Charlie Kirk. And now millions will carry on his legacy.
Weird stuff. I mean, what the fuck is that? Who is he talking? Is he talking about me? Is he talking about, again, I don't want to be redundant here. I have no idea other than lunatics who he could be speaking about. And the majority of our country is full of reasonable people who did not want to see that death play out. So again, we will see the pendulum swing in a direction of authoritarian control, coming after people, groups. I wouldn't be surprised if any left-leaning nonprofit group is now going to be under attack. Any of these groups that help fund political campaigns. It's absolutely wild out there. So again, just remember, if I was a marriage counselor and a couple came in and they started, and one said, they, we, I. You would say, first of all, Bubba, you can't talk that way. That's not how you build things back together, by pointing the finger. When you point the finger at someone, 4 fingers point back at you, right? Whatever that stupid saying is. And we're seeing that play out right now, not by random people online fighting. We're seeing that play out right now by so many folks. Even Candace Owens said it, and Megyn Kelly did. They all said the same thing. They're going to regret the storm, the fire, the momentum that came out of this. Who the fuck are they? There was no coordinated plan to take out this guy. I have always been against the censorship of people when it comes to them. Sometimes people getting canceled at colleges, and I understand that problem that has existed. I've always been for free speech. And now my brothers and sisters on the right, along with my brothers and sisters on the left, and everybody in between, needs to come together and say, enough of this nonsense. Enough. Because again, we'll see how it all plays out. My guess is the censorship will continue in the name of hate speech and all these other things that really don't exist, things that Charlie Kirk was against. He was against censorship. He was for free speech. And if Charlie and I have one thing in common, it's that words should be allowed to be spoken out loud. And I respect those like Colonel Kurtz who are going to stick up for freedom of speech and understand how dangerous a time it is, that because it might be opportune on one side versus the other, that we're going to throw all of that away. Not on my watch. Well, I'll be back. And again, I was supposed to share with you guys an amazing interview I did with a psychologist who was an expert. She gave expert testimony at the January 6th committee. And I pushed that off because I wanted to share this. So we'll have that for you tomorrow. It's going to be fascinating. Oh, I did say if you stuck around, I would give you a clue as to where I am. So let's pull up this image. This is my view right now. So clues from the view. We'll have to see if you can see where I am. That's my setup. Oh boy, hold on. I just zoomed it out over there. So that's my setup. So you guys can do with that what you may. White sandy beaches. Good time to be alive. At least, when it comes to enjoying the sun. When it comes to enjoying free speech, yet to be seen. All right, that's it for me. We'll be back in the morning. We'll see you then. As always, I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.